guys, welcome back to NEPA Story. I'm Kylie Montigney, and I can't explain how excited I am for this episode. In this episode, we are introducing you to Casey Dinuzzo, who is a dog trainer and CEO for Leroy and Company Dog Training, in which they train your dog using learning and theory, counter conditioning, clicker training, and positive reform and reinforcement. They use positive motivators such as treats or playing as rewards so that your dog is excited to learn. They also focus on dog and human relationship building, real life games, and having fun. They rely strongly on gentle and human methods to allow your dog to learn and make changes at his or her pace. They also believe in setting boundaries to manage your dog as well as the environment to help everyone succeed. Someone who has 3 animals and probably get more in the next couple of years, who knows with that part, but it can be crucial to find a place to train your dogs, especially in our area. There's like very limited dog training places, and I know Leroy and Company Dog Training is such a good place to do that. So thank you so much, Casey, for coming on and chatting with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
So to start off, I know you are a big animal person. I seen everything you're doing. It seems like you're just a big animal lover. But what got you to start Leroy and Company Dog Training?
Sure. Leroy was my first dog that I got, as an adult, not your family dog, but your first kind of adult dog. And he was really, really bad. He had a ton of behavioral problems. He was aggressive, fearful, reactive. So I started taking training classes with him. And from there, it just became a passion. I loved learning about the kind of the science behind it. So I loved learning about the psychology and the learning theory. I loved watching him process the information and loved making progress with him. So we were having a lot of fun and it just became a passion from there.
Ooh, did you like train them outside of it, or did you kind of like relax it, and then when you go to those classes, you had kind of those training classes, like teach them while you're there?
So we were in training classes and like group classes, and then I would practice, around my neighborhood. I was living in Philadelphia at the time. So a lot of his issues were just like being walked around Philadelphia. So we would have to practice constantly just to go for a walk around the block. It involved a lot of training and practice.
Yeah, I have a golden retriever. So my golden, when we first got her, I know with a lot of big dogs, they're very hyper and just, they're crazy. That's probably the best word for it. And so with having we trained basically all my 3 dogs. And with all 3 of them, she was definitely the most probably crazy and needed the most training. And with
Sure.
training, I feel like when they're younger, like when they're puppies, they need more training than when they come like adults, maybe like 3 or 2 years old. They're like, I just want to sleep all day. Like this is us. This in the two.
Yeah, they definitely tend to mellow out once they hit adulthood. I always feel like 6 months to 1.5 is the hardest age.
Oh, 100%. Like I definitely noticed that. Like once she hit like probably a year and a half, she just like this anger issues just went away. I just want to sleep and go on walks, you know what I mean? So it's like the 6 months a year, all we saw was shredding, all we saw was ripping out toys, socks, whatever you name, whatever she can get a hold of, food on the counter, whatever. It's just like I feel like all that most stuff happened during those times, like 6 months to a year and a half. But even if she's like 6 years old now, she still loves to jump on the counter and get food or get socks, it never ends.
Yep, they're always gonna take their opportunities, and it kind of depends on the dog for that, but some dogs never grow out of all their puppy stuff.
I know, right? But how do you guys, focus on human and dog relationship building?
I think that in some ways, like all of training is going to be just a way that you can interact with your dog. So I think that inherently it's going to bond you. It's just you spending quality time with your dog. But the type of training that we specifically do is positive reinforcement. So it's fun for the dogs. We use food and we use treats. We like to make it into like break it down into games. So kind of really again, like fun and approachable for the dogs. And so that's going to build the relationship. We like to train like eye contact. So if your dog is looking at you and you're looking at your dog, that's a bonding moment right there.
Mm,
So I think anything that's kind of bringing, dog and human together is going to strengthen that relationship. You're kind of teaching them like, you can trust me and I'm going to take care of you and we're doing this game together.
mhm. Like, I know with dogs, like, some dogs can be so greedy that they want attention from their owner 24/7, like eye contact, food, love. Like, every dog's different, but I know a lot of dogs are like, I just need, like, attention 24/7,
Mhm.
and us having those human face-to-face connections is really crucial for that, but how has really people reacted to that sort of thing and teaching them how to do it?
I think that people seem to really love it. I think that they want dogs as companion animals, and so sometimes you still see, like, the old school method of training, which is really, like, based around military training or police dog training, and some of it can be really harsh and heavy-handed, and when people, like, find those trainers, they always end up saying, like, "Oh, well, I never practiced it," or "I didn't like it," um, but when they do this style of training that I have, it's fun for them, and so it's stuff that like they want to do it. And I also think it's super important to tailor a training session to meet the goals of the family, like the human and the dog. So I always feel like I hate to say, oh, this is like my rule. You're not allowed to do this. And there
Mhm,
are tons of trainers out there that will do that. They'll say, like, oh, your dog has to eat at this time, or your dog can't go on the furniture, or it has to walk like this. And I just hate that. I think that's not the reason that people own dogs anymore. People have dogs to be friends and companions and family members. So I always kind of like to tell people, like, you tell me that this works in your household and I won't say a thing about it. But if you tell me, hey, this is a problem, I will give you as many different training solutions as I have to come up with like a new plan, and we'll fix it and we'll try however we need to do it to kind of like make it work for your family.
mhm, because I know with every family, like, people treat, dogs differently. I'm not saying everyone's the same, but everyone, treats it differently and then get their dogs in different reasons. And I know a lot of people, they just want dogs to have be friends and just take care of animals. And I know they're in the Scranton Wilkes-Barre area. There's some homeless shelters, like dog shelters out there that you can adopt dogs if you want to. Just visit and take like just spend time with dogs, even though you don't want to buy one or you just don't have the money for some. It's like, but every dog is just like different. But sometimes I'm the same way. I'm just like, I hate how everyone has like these strict rules and just they treat people dogs like they're human and adults.
Sure. Yeah, I always feel like they're not robots. Like there are a lot of dogs that don't want to sit if they're on concrete or if the grass is wet, and it's because like it's not comfortable. Like they're not enjoying that. And so instead of like forcing them to do it, we just are like, who cares? Like if your dog doesn't want to sit because the grass is wet, like is that really a problem for you in this moment, or can you just live with it because it's a dog and it doesn't have to sit right now? And so I just think like coming into it with a little bit of flexibility and realizing that we have dogs for fun. And so like let's, have fun with the training. Let's teach them how to do something that's useful. So I like to think of it as like what are like the functional skills and the real life problems that you have. So like most people, they just don't want their dog to jump on their visitors, or they don't want the dog to steal food off the table if they're trying to eat dinner. So that's what we focus on, just like normal stuff. I don't really care to teach a heel or to do certain like basic obedience tricks that aren't going to be fun. I just want to have fun with people and dogs and make sure everybody enjoys their life together.
Yeah, and next couple of months, if my dog keeps jumping on the counter, I should make sure I send her to you for a couple of days and see how that goes. And see how that lands up. But what
Yeah.
are some of the programs that you guys offer?
Most of what we do is private training where we go to the client's home, and we do like a 1 hour session once a week for a couple weeks in a row. So that's kind of like our main program. But we also will do board and train programs here, mostly for puppies. So we do like a really special puppy potty training and socialization and crate training program. There's really not a lot of those offered. I have people come from New York City and New Jersey and other areas to bring their puppies here. So like if you've got an 8 or 9 or 10 week old puppy, and those first couple weeks can be really tough. And so people will bring that puppy to me, and I spend the time to crate train it and work on building a solid potty training foundation. We socialize it, we teach it some really easy life skills, and then we send it home.
Like how much like is there a specific limit do you guys have to do the programs or do people just choose how much they want to put their dogs in?
Yeah, I mean, like our smallest package is 3 private sessions, or we can do like a one-time consult. But there's people that do like once a month, and they just want to keep doing it for some follow-up and to practice the skills and to keep fine-tuning skills. And just so that there's like an extra set of eyes there to say, hey, I think we can make this a little bit better, or let's tweak this. So I mean, you can do a lot of times like as much or as little as you want.
Interesting. Because I know with training for every dog place in the area, every place is different. Yeah, so like with training my dogs, I'm just like, gosh, it's a handful. I just need to do this all with a trainer, you know? But with club places, everything is different. Like every place maybe do this one time, a couple of weeks every month, like a couple times a month, like everything's different.
Yeah, I normally like to think if you sign up for 3 sessions, maybe your dog's not totally fixed, but you should have a training plan so that you can keep practicing and your dog will kind of get to that point eventually, as long as you follow the consistency and you practice the training games. Like you'll at least know what to do to fix the problem, even if it's not fixed in that time period.
So like, how do you guys figure out the right training for each dog? Like, do you guys usually do kind of the same training, or do you guys kind of do different like strategies? I know you kind of mentioned this a bit earlier, but in case people are kind of interested and see what kind of training do you do for each dog?
Sure. Yeah. So I think like we always are going to look at the big picture. We're going to talk to the family and figure out, okay, like how old is your dog? What is the breed? What's their background? And then what are your family goals? Like, what do you want to do with your dog? Do you want to hike? Do you want to go camping with your dog? Do you want it to just like be at your house? And so once we have a really good idea of what our goals are, we dive in with a training plan. We always are going to use some version of positive reinforcement. So we're going to use treats or dog food, just because it's fast, it's easy. Most dogs are super happy to work for that. And then beyond that, we're going to go towards whatever the dog is motivated by. So, like you said, like some dogs really love praise and affection and petting and eye contact. Some dogs more like, oh, they want to do tug of war. So using anything that they are enjoying, anything that they like, to kind of build that into the training. And then we can kind of talk about, okay, like now we can fade out some of the traits, we can fade this out. But we'll use anything, and we'll use like what we consider management strategies. So just using different tools like a leash, a baby gate, a crate, a playpen, anything to sort of like help the family if they're having trouble controlling the dog. Well, maybe you have to put the dog on leash when a visitor comes first, and then we'll practice this training game, and then we'll kind of expand to the next level. So it does really depend on the dog and on the family and on how quickly the dog learns and how quickly everybody practiced. But yeah, that's generally how we sort of find the training program that's going to work. And some of it's trial and error. Some dogs you think are going to want to do something or learn a certain way, and then they end up kind of figuring it out a different way on their own.
I know, like that's how my dogs are. They're less like, I want something. They probably want a treat or just a toy that's imaginary or something. They're like, okay, now it's time to figure out something else to do with my life. Like, 'cause I remember, like, when we first got my dogs, we used to have to put them on like a leash, put them in like a little baby pen or whatever it's called, and these different strategies. I'm just like, gosh, how much do we have to do this for? Like, this is becoming a rag, but it does take time if
It
they,
does.
yes, or if they grow out, at that growth spurt like little kids do.
Yep. Yeah, I always like to kind of explain to people like if you have a real puppy, they're going to go through two different teething phases. And in some ways, like your house is not safe until they're past the second
Mhm.
teething phase and they have their molars. So that's when those baby gates and stuff like that can come in handy. If you're not there to supervise, then you need to know like, well, are they going to eat my couch? Or are they going to be safe?
So, like, do you guys just train dogs, or do you guys train like a bunch of other animals, like cats, or other like
Right
any
now
other
we
animal that exists?
right now we just train dogs. I love other animals. I have done a plenty of sessions where I'm working on getting a dog and cat to like coexist better. So if you were bringing a cat into your house, or you're bringing a dog into your house and you have the kind of animal dynamic, I can help with that. But I don't train specifically like other animals. Maybe one day I'll do some horse training. I think that they're so cool.
I know. Like, I don't know why, but I feel like dogs for me, if I was a trainer, would just be enough. Nothing could just stop me from it. It'd always be dogs since,
It's interesting
dogs are much
because,
easier.
one of the training methods we use is called clicker training. And, even learning theory in itself, I kind of feel like I have the skills in my brain to
Yeah.
train other animals. Like it's all the same methods, but in practice, like I haven't really done it. So I'm not experienced to just say, oh yeah, sure, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have in the future, but I'm just like, I'd rather just stick to dogs for now. Maybe in the future I'll switch, but I'm just like, dogs are just, that's it for me. This is enough.
Yeah,
But to wrap
absolutely.
up, like, how can people learn more about Leroy and Company dog training and everything that you guys are doing?
Sure. We have an Instagram and we have a Facebook and a website. We post on our stories on Instagram the dogs that are here for the board and train. We'll post like little videos of them doing training or playing in the yard. The website has really awesome information about like the programs that we offer. You can schedule right online. And we do also offer virtual sessions. I forgot to say that before because I feel like I don't really market beyond this region. So people kind of find us and they're local enough. But every
Mhm.
once in a while, I definitely will do like a virtual call, and it can be so helpful for potty training issues or kind of fine tuning stuff that maybe a lot of times people research online and they are trying to train the dog themselves, but it's almost like they need somebody to watch them and say, oh, you're almost doing it, but like fix your timing, or give the treat right now instead of waiting. So I love to help people like that as well.
Yeah, I know it's very crucial for a lot of people if maybe they're out of state or, maybe on the West Coast or something that they love what you're doing, but just can't travel or can't,
Mhm.
just don't have the time to travel that much in the area. So I know doing virtually can be so helpful if you don't want to travel how many hours or
Yeah,
just don't have the time to, travel so much.
yeah, absolutely.
But I will make sure to put all the links below in the description so everyone could check everything you're doing out. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I recommend checking them out if you are having dog issues. It's probably the best word for it. Dog training issues. But I really appreciate you so much, Casey, for joining us, and thank you for everything you're doing. I will definitely keep you in mind for training if my dogs need it next couple of months or years, who knows? And I know a lot of my dogs have, some things they need to work on. So I'll definitely keep
Mhm.
you in mind. But I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.